to the CBR Boat Show, a very special edition of CBR TV. I'm Jonah Weiland. I have Dark Horse editor Scott Allie directly to my left, and Gerard Way, the creator of the Umbrella Academy and member of My Chemical Romance. Thanks for coming out to the boat, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So I think the big exciting news right now is not just that the first Umbrella Academy series is wrapped and been collected in a trade paperback and pretty widely well received. You've got a second series coming up now.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Okay, well, we'd actually always planned on having one. And I've been doing some interviews earlier today too, and it was exciting because people were like, "Oh, it's well received, so you guys decided to do another." But the cool thing is, we always plan on doing more, and whether the book was well received or not, and Scott, was the editor that was going to stick by the book. And
yeah, there's a finite number of stories, but we always planned that we had to do a bunch. Like the first one sets everything up, but there's so much more to tell about the characters, and the different chapters, the trade paperbacks are gonna. Each one marks a serious change, a serious development in the group.
Tell us a little bit about the story that you have planned for the second series.
What much do we say?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's tough because you do want people. We don't want to just tell you nothing, but we want people to be excited as these issues come out. But it directly deals with something that happened. It centers around number 5, the little boy who had come back to the team. And it deals a lot of an incident that happened in the first series that's now having to get resolved, whether the characters like it or not. But it's also really about them kind of, again, being without purpose, and having months gone by and to try to deal with all the changes that have happened, some of them which to their bodies now,
Okay.
So.
Yeah, like characters were nearly killed. Well, characters were killed, but then others who are going to still be active were nearly wiped out. The one thing I think is safe to spoil is what it was in that later issue that we pick up on.
Right.
There was a scene in a diner where some very strange-looking guys came up behind the boy and said something to him, and then you didn't see what happened. And in the next issue, you saw that the boy had massacred these guys and just destroyed this diner. The second series mainly is the fallout from that.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's basically that taken to the next level sets the whole series forward.
Yeah, it mainly deals with the fallout from that, and I'm trying to think of what else. You actually get to see the rest of his story. There's a lot more to number 5's story.
Okay.
Like there's he tells when in that second issue where he's going through.
There's a huge flashback that kind of him filling in the blanks of how he got to be here. Well, he didn't tell
He stopped at a certain point. There was a whole other part of the story that took many years more for him to get back to where he was in the second issue.
You've planned a second series. You said that. Is this planned as a trilogy? Is this planned as...
No. It's much more than that.
It's much more
than
that.
Yeah.
Is it it's like 9 or...
In our heads, it's been about 9, 8, between 8 and 10,
So you're going to be doing this for a while.
Oh, yeah. And really, the next 5 years are blocked out for us as far as at least we know that much for sure, and we know the ending. There's a little bit of leeway, but we want that with the series. We want, some room.
You got your first full comic series under your belt. What have you learned that's helping you in the second series?
First comic series?
First comic series.
We're not going there.
First comic series. First comic series as an adult.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's see. What have I learned? Well, I learned a lot from Scott every step of the way. He's
your comic mentor, I guess.
Yeah, he showed me how to do it, and because he knew I didn't want to cheat. He knew it wasn't a vanity project, so he knew that I wanted to turn in real scripts, and that was really important to me. And we have a really great system of working now where, I was handing stuff in that basically it's thinking that it, I'll do so much of the job that you didn't need to get it edited, but then I realized I have the best editor in comics. Give him something that he could edit. You know what I mean? And
yeah, so there's a great back and forth, and we figured out how to make things work for Gabriel, who's amazing, and the book wouldn't be any of what it is without him. And with a guy like that, he's such a great writer himself that you could give him a partial script, you could give him an unfinished script, and he could make it work. But Gerard didn't want to do it like that. He didn't want to be the figurehead in the book.
Right.
So yeah, there was a learning curve in terms of figuring out really comic book writing boot camp. But yeah, I'm super happy with where we're at.
You're gonna take that best editor in comics and put it on the back of your business card, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna engrave it in my iPod.
What is that? Are people doing iPod engravings now or something?
Mindy just got a iTouch, or it's not a phone. It's the other one.
Touch iPod,
it's Sid's mom.
You also have think this was an unusual, not unusual, unexpected announcement. Jim Lee doing a variant cover or a second cover for the first issue of the second series. How did that happen?
We actually, well, we had become friends. Like in a lot of the ways that like me and Scott had met, and then I got to meet Grant, and he was, he mentored me through certain things too. But then Jim, like, he just came out to a show on Project Revolution one day, and me and him and Mikey became great friends. I think Jim's been to like 8 shows, and it's always amazing hanging out with him. He's been at a couple weddings, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So he got really tight with the band, and he asked, he said, I'd love to draw these characters. He loved the first series, so he said, could you cover? He asked, we were like, please.
Yeah, you don't say no to that.
And we were at dinner last night, and he came and goes, here, this is for you, and he handed me the cover.
Oh, man.
He gave me the artwork. I was floored,
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to finish up with a quote that Mike Richardson gave me earlier today. He said, we were talking about the almost 25 years of his publishing, and he said, one of his favorite quote from anything he's ever published is in your book. And it was the Eiffel Tower's gone insane. We must stop it at any cost.
Yeah.
It's a big compliment coming from Mike.
It is, and the quote is a bold statement, right? I'd always want to hear somebody say that to a Frenchman.
And now you're going to have to top it in the next series.
I know. Well, that's the cool thing about Umbrellas. We'll never try to top what we've done. We just do something different.
Sure.
Each series is going to feel completely different, and by the end, I think the series will almost be unrecognizable from where it started.
Oh yeah. And there's, I don't know about lines that are as good as that line, but there are moments coming up, not things that we've done yet.
Right.
But there's moments coming up in this 6-issue series that are really going to turn things upside down and really like. The whole premise of the series is something I don't think anybody else could have ever done in a comic book, and that's the thing with this book. Whenever we're at an impasse, like plot-wise, whenever we're trying to talk through what's going to happen next, if we ever come up with something that's like right on the nose, like that's exactly what should happen next, we're like, oh, then don't do that. And if we come up with something that's like, oh yeah, you can't really do that in a comic, we're like, got to do that.
That's what we have to do. Well, the ad he came up with, like, the ad is my favorite ad
The
ever.
ad that's going to appear in previews soon has Boz cover to the first issue.
Okay.
And the tagline, I'm like, Gerard, what are we going to do for a tagline? Do you have something? Because usually he has these amazing turns of phrase that are just sitting in his head waiting around for it.
Okay.
So I asked him, usually we'll have an ad meeting at Dark Horse, but I asked him, what do you got? And like,
it was the opposite of what we used.
He basically said, this is like something along the lines of the series that will change everything. And I was like, nah.
Everybody says
That's what
that.
every ad is.
Yeah. But the reason it came up is because we were originally working on the concept of the series. Scott had said to me, well, this is, this series about change, more than, and so the idea of change.
And it does, it changes everything. It really pulls the rug out from under the characters. And so when we've talked about what's good about the series, we do talk about how much everything changes. But then when he suggested putting that in the ad, I was like, yeah, but that's just thin. You say that, and everybody's like, oh.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
It's like faint boasting. It's not
it
real, and everybody says it, and nobody delivers it on.
What'd you go with?
The comic that will change, the story that will change absolutely nothing. Which actually,
big bold letters.
Big bold letters. It actually,
but that's actually true too.
And that's actually true too.
There's a sense in which it's totally true.
Because there's a political.
Because it's an election year.
It's an election year. There's the series actually is political. It has nothing to do with the election year.
Right.
The timing just ended up being that way. But it's the first time I've ever gotten political with anything, and me and Scott agree tremendously on politics, as Gabrielle too.
Yeah.
And so it says a lot of stuff in there. Some of it's under the surface, some of it's not. But
it's not about the politics,
right.
But politics are a thread because of some of the plot points.
Okay.
And the ultimate outcome, the ultimate outcome has something to do with an election year, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations on all your success as
Thank you.
comic creator here. Scott, thanks for coming out.
Thanks.
Gerard.
No problem.
I'm Jonah Weiland, and this CBR TV.